like he sat there and he just sat he sat in a chair in my room, and I ended up moving over to sit in the chair, and he was just like, I'm really sorry this happened to you. And he just said, I don't know why crappy things happen to good people. And he's like, it's part of medicine that I don't understand. Sometimes the things that just don't make any sense. He's like, I don't know why bad things happen to good people. And I'm sorry this happened to you. And that's like all I needed to hear. I'd had so many people, and I totally appreciated the prayers. I appreciated the good vibes. I appreciated everything. Like this was like Thomas's day 2 of cooling. Like he was having neonatal seizures. He was having phenobarbital and breathing, he was a mess, and he was having a really hard time. And so we didn't even know if he was going to survive. So at that point I was a mess, and I had so many people just being like, God wouldn't give you what you couldn't handle. And I had people telling me that they were going to pray things away. And I'm not like averse to religion, so I wasn't offended by people's prayers or anything like that. But I also just like, none of that is what I needed to hear in that moment. Like none of it was helpful. None of like, this is going to be fine. You just have to like have positive feelings, and I just needed someone to tell me like, this whole situation sucks. You didn't deserve it. I'm so sorry it happened to you. It's all I needed to hear. And he knew to say it. And it was just perfect. Like, I was just like, I think I started to cry then, because that's just what I needed to hear. Like no one was saying it to me. Everyone was just like, some people were like really emotional to me, like my mom, people that were like, she was like, I remember being really irritated with my mom and being like, Mom, you can't come in this room and cry to me today. If you have to cry, you have to cry to somebody else. Like, I don't have the bandwidth to be your emotional cry person. You need to find someone else to cry to. I was really strict. And she was like, I'm going to try, because my mom's super emotional. And she's like, I'm going to try my hair. I was like, you will not. If you feel like you're going to cry, you need to go someplace. You're not going to try anything. You're going to not cry, or you're going to leave. You can't be here if you're going to cry to me. So it was like that. But I had so many people telling me so many different things, and I did appreciate like the support, but almost all of it was not what I needed. I really just needed someone to be like, this really sucks. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. I'm sorry this is happening to you.
I think you need, how you need like the explained. So sometimes you need things explained. You need to understand why. Like I think of the biggest thing, if anybody can, no matter what you go through, whether things end up okay or not, even if it's just trauma, even if it's just scary, you need to know why this happened, why your body did this, why that happened when this happened. I think understanding like why, for having like a medical person sit down and be like, why you experienced this, and this, and then it ended up going to this, is so important. And then the other side is, after things have happened that are terrible and people are trying to live with it and deal with it, people go about it in this way of like, let me fix you, let me make you better. But I don't want to hear about what you think makes you better. I'm going to tell you what's better. And I'm going to pray for you, whether you're religious or not. I'm going to fix you in this whatever way. And it's not fixable. Like, it's not fixable. If your kid's in NICU and needing like special care and all this stuff, you're just waiting and hoping that things are going to be whatever, but no happy thoughts in the world are going to make that situation better. It's not going to make you better. It's not whatever. So it's just, I don't know why people have this thing of like saying things that you're almost like probably the worst thing that I heard afterwards was, I'm sorry. Everywhere. Everybody was like, I'm sorry. But there was like no really compassion about it. And to be honest, I actually hate that. Actually, hear whenever I see it, I rarely ever use it. Like if you actually ever see me write like sorry, I'm normally saying, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. But I never actually say, I'm sorry. For whatever reason, those two words mean nothing to me. They mean nothing. It's not you saying, this sucks, like, or wow, I can't imagine how you're feeling. Like, there's nothing, like, you didn't do this to me. So when you say, I'm sorry, it means nothing to me.
And you
So,
almost feel like you have a pressure to like then tell them, like it's almost like, and even
oh, it's okay.
you feel like you have to tell them like it's hard to respond to. You're like, well, it's
Yeah.
absolutely not okay. So I don't know what,
Yeah.
like,
That's it.
thanks.
When they say, I'm sorry, do you say, it's okay? Like, it's okay. Thanks for saying sorry. Like, I don't
Right.
know, like, what reaction they want back from you either. Like, what conversation in these situations, I think the most thing is being compassionate with each other and being helpful, like, really helpful and useful to the people, not just being like, I don't know. Yes, it's a bad experience. Yes, it's whatever. But the worst thing you could do is go up and say something that hurts them even more. They're in a dark, bad place. If you're not going to sit in the dark with that person and just sit there with them, get away from them, because you could be saying things that could really hurt them even more. You know what I mean?
I know, when doulas or midwives are like, we have to hold space for a person. That's useless crap. But when someone is grieving,
Yeah.
if you're there with them and you're willing to, because you have to be very vulnerable. And I think a lot of people are not good. Like they just want to say they're sorry, but if they have to get in too deep, it's too much for them. So that's why they fix it. And so if you're willing to just sit there with a person and be with if they're crying, if they're wailing, if they're hurting, and you can just be there with them and not fix it, that would be a good example of holding space.
Mm-hmm.
I know in my life, and I always hear that people are like, oh, and they go right on to something else that they think is going to be soothing. And I'm not there yet. I'm still in pain. I'm still grieving. I'm still in this place. I just need you to be with me, just be where I am, and that will help me the most.
Yeah.
And so, kind of the same way with the doctor, like if you're not there yet with some of your recovery, they can't pull you along. They've got to be there with you and talk to you on that level. I think, I think you understand there are a lot of really codependent people, and it comes out especially when there's a loss and there's a death in the family, and you see it and you see everyone just jump into that. Okay, and we're going to fix this because they don't know how to act. They are hurting, but they kind of feel guilty for hurting because it's not their grief. So they just create this little thing where they're going to fix it for you. They're going to tell you these platitudes, and then they'll feel better because they said something. They face their grief, but you're still left there. It does nothing for you.
Yeah. That's I think the worst line is everything happens for a reason. I think I think I kind of believe that when before my son died, I did think that everything happens for a reason and everybody has a plan and you have a path and you may not know what it is, but it's decided and everything does what it's supposed to do. But afterwards I was like, nah, I don't think so. I don't think that's how that works, because I just thought if everything happens for a reason, then that means we have a God. And if we have a God, that means that they have to have compassion and empathy and love. And if they have love, would they hurt children? Sorry, I don't agree with that. We wouldn't have children starving. We wouldn't have children dying. We wouldn't have children suffering. I was like, I don't know if I can believe that anymore. And so I did hear that a lot. Like I still hear it to this day. I still have people tell me everything happens for a reason. And I'm just like, and a lot of people think, since I've had another baby, that it was like, see, like you had your rainbow baby. It happened for a reason. Pretty sure if I had Gavin alive, like I would still have another baby. That doesn't, like, that's not going to change anything there. So I was like, no, that doesn't work into everything happens for a reason in your whatever mind. But I mean, I heard some like very interesting things that people would tell me. And I'm just like, I don't think you realize you didn't think that through when you said that out loud, because now that I hear it, I'm like, I can't tell if you're trying to make me feel better, make yourself feel better, or belittle my child of their value of what they mean to me. And that was the other thing, was deciding between that, because online, putting what happened online, there's so many vultures out there. And there was so many people that my story went so public, that people were saying like, oh, your baby was going to die anyways. I heard that a lot. And I was like, that's really interesting, since the doctor that delivered my baby, the nurses that delivered my baby, the nurses at the hospital, the other doctors that I went to see afterwards, all my doctors later, all the other nurses, everybody that's ever heard my story is also the same thing. Your baby would be alive today if you had gone in sooner, period. Like even that morning, because I didn't have him, by the way, till the afternoon. So if I had him in the morning, just like I had got up, maybe even at 10, if I got up and just went to a hospital, the chances of his survival would have, like, he probably would have survived. I don't know how long it was when he was actually going through distress. So it's like saying that like it happens for a reason and your kid that was meant to be whatever is like the most painful and like in a weird way disrespectful thing you can say to a parent that's grieving. And it's the same with somebody that's their child is in a situation where they're just waiting to see what happens. Like same thing. Like if you're waiting, your child's going through the special care in NICU, you're experiencing something that nobody understands other than other mothers that their babies have been in NICU or the nurses. I think a lot of the medical people do understand it because they see the families and they see the babies that they, you know, that they're trying to care for. But it's one of those, like that line, like if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But I don't know why people think it's nice to say those things. Like, why do you think it's nice to tell somebody like your baby was meant to be in the NICU? Your baby was meant to like not be here. Like, what do you mean? And how do you determine that? Like, we're just humans. Like, I don't get it. So it just, I don't know.
Everyone has opinions though. Everyone wants to be a part of birth. I swear it's something about birth and pregnancy because you know, most people know someone who's been pregnant, they've been pregnant themselves, and they just think they know so much about the situation. And you've been through it once, oh, you know, and they just opine. And we forget it's an opinion, it's not our life, it's not our situation. And we forget that sometimes the best thing to do is just butt out. I know I did genetic testing with my child, and because I was older, I just wanted to know if there was something, and there were some concerning things. And so they did a high level ultrasound, and then we went for one of the blood tests. It's more, you know, a screening. And so I didn't tell a lot of people I was doing that because I just couldn't handle their opinions about, you know, if there was an outcome that was a little different than we expected. I didn't want to tell people about it. That left me, you know, without any support, but also without those opinions. And I remember someone's like, well, you know, if your baby has Down syndrome, I know people with Down syndrome, they're the most loving, wonderful people, glossing over the point that those children often have health problems and they have a lot of things that they need care. And so they haven't really thought about the parents whose lives might have to change completely, because we do know someone, we grew up with someone whose family, their last baby, needed a lot of special care because of that. And they love her and we love her, but it's just it's a different life than you would have expected. So you need people, you know, I needed the space to be able to process whatever the outcome was and to be with uncertainty. People don't like that. They want to give their opinion because, again, they want to try and fix things because they're so much smarter. You know, you're like in this position where you just don't know what's going to happen. So they want to make it better so they can talk about baby and getting clothes and blankets or whatever.